Time to talk about the worst animation reviewer on this god-awful website. Well, sorta. Over the course of my channel, the two most popular videos that I have ever made, not that they're very popular in the first place, are both about the cartoon community, and in both videos I primarily focused on a rather polarizing figure on the platform, one you have likely heard of many times before if you are watching this video. The mysterious Mr. Enter is an animation reviewer with a sizable channel of 250,000 subscribers, as of the time this script is being written, and during the years that he has been creating videos, he has both received lots of praise and arguably even more criticism in regards to his content, with the criticism becoming so great that it has not only become a massive bandwagon at this point, but also Enter felt the need to make a video responding to it, which I and a few other creators responded to as well. And despite what you may think from the title and my track record discussing this creature, I do not intend to further the bandwagon in any way during this video or create lots of unnecessary hate or drama towards Enter. In my previous two videos in this cartoon community trilogy of sorts, I failed to really give Enter a fair chance and was blinded by both the small explosion in popularity that my channel was receiving at the time, and because of the number of creators like Mars Reviews making videos calling him out on poor practices, making very subpar videos, etc. But today, I'm going to do my best to essentially analyze Enter's content, take a look at the major criticisms made against him, and finally decide for myself whether or not the hate he received is very warranted. Keep in mind, this is all my opinion. You don't have to agree or disagree. Frankly, I don't care if the sheer mention of me critiquing Enter makes your ass sweat and the vein in your forehead burst. So without further ado, let's get on with this analysis. On Mr. Enter. I have nothing to say. Where's the transition card? One of the most common criticisms I see directed towards Mr. Enter is that his editing is just awful. People will complain about bad audio balancing and overall just bad audio due to the blue snowball mic he uses. I wouldn't know anything about that at all. And because overall, for a channel his size, it seems like his editing is very lackluster and poor. This is something I can agree with to some degree, because while his editing and production quality isn't absolutely abysmal like some will say it is by no means good. He always leaves in these black bars and this massive annoying black border surrounding whatever cartoon he's talking about, and for some reason whenever he's using his character stills there is this massive black border in between the edge of the screen and the actual image. It's so effortless and lackluster that I'm having a very hard time understanding why he left it in. Is he just not trying to edit? Does he hate editing? Because it's not a hard change to make, especially when he's using something as primitive as Movie Maker or iMovie to edit with. He also can't seem to find a good copy of a cartoon he's discussing or something, so the clip he's showing looks like it's from a Game Boy Advance video cartridge, which would be understandable if it was some kind of lost media, but usually what he's reviewing is a widely available show that has either been ripped and put online for him to download and use, or it's had a DVD release that you can easily buy on Amazon. And you could say maybe it's a money problem for him and that's why he can't get a good copy, but that is just untrue. From what I can tell, he makes at least $4,000 a month off of ad revenue, and trust me, he doesn't spare those mid-roll ads he puts on his videos. He uses every last one. And he also makes $300 a month on Patreon from reviewing this stuff, so altogether he's making pretty decent money considering what he does for a living. Which brings me to the conclusion that he must just not care about editing. He has the money to buy expensive software and get proper DVDs of the animated movies or shows he's reviewing. He has the money to get a better microphone or equipment, etc. Now obviously I don't know his personal situation, so I can't make a full judgment on this, but he doesn't really come across to me as a guy with a family of 6 kids and a horrendously overweight wife he has to support. So apparently he's just happy with completely stagnating his content on a visual level and not improving at all. Some people just don't care about editing and only want to hear his voice, which I suppose is a sound opinion, but at the end of the day, a video is a visual art, and when you completely leave out a good or appealing visual, nobody can take you seriously. The second most common criticism I have heard is that in his reviews, Enter gets very heated and just furious at the cartoon he's talking about, practically screaming into the microphone to the point where it sounds like his snowball is shoved 7 inches down his throat. In my opinion, this criticism isn't really warranted anymore, because for the most part he's moved past it in the last year or so, but before I move on I want to discuss a flaw with the criticism in the first place. Many people seem to think that he was actually angry at what he was talking about, which I think is a ludicrous notion. I think think he just wasn't doing a very good job of conveying that his anger was for entertainment purposes and comedic effect. He didn't actually want to kill the people who made the show. With people like AVGN, you can tell he's joking because he dresses up like a complete loser and rages at the things he's talking about, making it completely hilarious. But Enter didn't do this, and instead got extremely angry, which luckily he's moved on from, which is great and he deserves props for that. But I'll admit it was pretty bad before. Now, instead of screaming into the mic, he just sounds unenthusiastic about what he's discussing, and uses a monotone, depressed voice. Hey Turkey Tob, don't you do that too? Shut up, I'm improving! He just doesn't sound passionate or excited about what he's analyzing, which really takes a toll on the video. And when the editing is lackluster, and you don't sound like you want to be there, it becomes almost unbearable to watch. I'm sure this isn't the case and Enter has a true passion for animation, considering he spent a vast amount of time making a career off of it, but he fails to do a very good job of conveying that in his videos. That's not to say he can't improve. I'm sure he can interject some comedy or something into it to make it more interesting. Maybe sit up more straight and let the air circulate in his lungs, or do anything really to spice it up. But as of now, he just sounds like he doesn't want to be there. Like Christ, man, have some fun with your videos. You're not talking about a dying family member, you're talking about some stupid ass cartoon that nobody cares about. Lighten up a bit, make a joke, don't be a Kavos. Did I mention that I hate Kavos? Because I hate Kavos. He's almost as big of a meme on this channel as Mr. Enter is, because I just cannot stand Kavos. I want to beat his face in with a bat, like holy cow, I'm just so angry at Kavos. Another issue that I and many other people have with Enter is his whole shtick with morals. I can't speak to whether or not he still believes this now because he hasn't really talked about morals in quite a while, but right now it stands that he thinks cartoons should have a good moral. This is why he gets a hate boner for things like Family Guy and later episodes of SpongeBob, because they don't teach kids a lesson or something akin to that. Now don't get me wrong, I don't really like Family Guy, in fact I find it very mediocre, but I also don't think it has to have a moral, theme, or lesson. Clearly that's not what it's set out to do. Sure, a moral can be nice, but at the end of the day, the main purpose of an animation is to entertain, and criticizing a cartoon simply on the merit that it doesn't have a moral is stupid. The good thing is that Enter has laid off the morals for the time being and hasn't been very frequent in using them, but it's very obvious where this criticism is coming from. Next, we have one of the most serious accusations against Enter, which is that he has encouraged harassment. Allow me to explain. In many of Enter's old videos, he would repeatedly name the writers and artists involved and constantly just beat down on them and go beyond the point of criticizing them as people to the extent where he didn't really separate them from their creations. Essentially, he was saying that because they made this show, they were bad people. Or at least that's how it was being conveyed through his tone. What many people didn't seem to understand is that Enter wasn't doing this because he actually hated them. It was for entertainment purposes, which unfortunately he failed to get across in his videos, leading his mindless fans more on that later, to go out of their way to harass and bully these people. They would tweet at them, DM them, and overall just be really stupid 11-year-olds, being so furious to the point where they felt the need to ruin these people's lives. While many people will criticize Enter for this and use this as a point against him, I completely disagree. While yes, it sucks that this happened, it isn't really his fault. At no point in any video did he actually encourage people to go bother and harass the creators. It was the actions of his mindless fans taking his word as gospel and pursuing those actions for themselves. Does that mean Enter is completely innocent in this situation? No, not at all. He shouldn't have been so naive and probably should have realized that because he was reviewing cartoons, most of his fans would be stupid middle schoolers who can't interpret a joke, and therefore he probably should have included a disclaimer. But I really can't blame him for this one. Overall, I just think this criticism is relatively unwarranted, and most of the people who use it as a point against him are just using it as another way to knock his character, when they should in reality be criticizing his content. The final issue I would like to touch on with Enter is his fans, which, holy cow, his fans are just so terrible. I'm sure there are plenty of his fans who are perfectly reasonable people, but on both my prior videos about him, these people just got so goddamn angry that in most occasions I just had to take a step back to consider whether they were trolling or if these people actually exist. Obviously, his fans aren't Enter's fault, and I honestly feel bad for him because I cannot imagine what it would be like to have a fan base of thousands of people who unironically love you, treat you as a god, and absolutely hate anybody with a differing opinion. I got so many comments calling me an awful person, piece of shit human, people saying I was encouraging harassment, people saying I deserve to die, and I just don't understand. Really? Because of a video I made, I am automatically an awful human being? There were enough of these comments that I could make 3 feature-length films, just reading off and reacting to them. I'm also betting that I'm going to get a healthy dose of those comments on this video. Can't wait! In conclusion, do I hate the mysterious Mr. Enter? No, not at all. He seems like a fine guy, and to an extent I can even admire his work and the time he has put in over the years to get to where he is today. His editing may be poor, and he has certainly made some big mistakes in the past, but I think as time goes on, everything will slowly improve to the point where he will have some pretty decent content. And I even enjoyed his Legend of Korra review. I thought it was pretty well constructed and had some pretty decent points. However, as far as the rest of his videos go, and his editing to this day, I still can't say I enjoy it at all. Alright then, time to post this and wait for the absolutely furious, retarded fans to roll into the comment section and deliver me a nice little dose of praise and love. Speaking of the comment section, I'm curious to see what your opinion is. Do you agree? Disagree? Did this video make you want to break into my house and slit my throat open in my sleep? Be sure to let me know. I always love to hear conflicting opinions and constructive criticism as to how I can improve and do better next time. Turkey Tom, out. Also, yes, I know Thanksgiving happened. Stop telling me about it.